Dan Campbell snubbed for Coach of the Year, and some of the voters need some serious help.
You are Locked On Lions, your daily Detroit Lions podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
We got an earlier Friday edition of Locked On Lions, everybody, right here on the Locked On Podcast Network. Matt Derry with you on a Friday, February 7th, into the weekend of Saturday, February 8th, and Super Bowl Sunday coming up. Thanks for making us your first listen, everybody, and checking us out wherever you get your podcasts. Shout out to our everydayers that are out there that watch and listen to the pod daily. We appreciate you. Give some shout outs probably early next week. Locked On Lions today brought to you by FanDuel. Of course, we love FanDuel. Gotta love FanDuel, right? And FanDuel brings you Super Bowl 59 as well. New customers can bet just $5, and if you win, you'll score $200 in bonus bets. Download the app or head to FanDuel.com to get started. I'm recording earlier today than usual because I have some things to get off my chest with what happened last night at the NFL Awards show. We're going to talk about Dan Campbell not winning the Coach of the Year and Kevin O'Connell winning, and let's not take anything away from what Kevin O'Connell did. I want to get to that. Some Lions did win. Some Lions did do better in the voting than I thought they would. We will get into all of that coming up momentarily. Interesting take from Aidan Hutchinson on Myles Garrett. We'll talk about that because Aidan spoke with Dave Burkett last night at the awards show, and a little Super Bowl prediction as well and what I think is going to happen in this game. All right, so I like the Pro Bowl. I always talk about the Pro Bowl. I talk about that. I don't watch the game, but I like the awards. I didn't watch the NFL awards show last night. There were some factors that kept me from really being interested in it. But regardless, the one award that I was most interested and intrigued in was Coach of the Year, of course. Jared Goff was up for MVP. Ben Johnson ended up winning Assistant Coach of the Year. Aaron Glenn was up for that. Some of the Lions were an Offensive Player of the Year. We're going to get to all of that. Rookie of the Year with Terran Arnold was in there, just in the mix. But Coach of the Year is the one that I was passionate about. And on yesterday's show, we talked about it. Aidan Hutchinson down on Radio Row, talking glowingly about Dan Campbell and just the job that Dan Campbell did this year. Now, for the voters, and there's voters all over the country. This is the AP Awards, but guys like Dave Burkett from the Free Press vote. People, national folks vote. Tom Brady votes on Coach of the Year. So there's a lot of people involved. All right. And I get that. Not every voter, you're going to like what they put out there. This happens for the Baseball Hall of Fame. Things are public, whatever. And nothing is personal against some of the voters that I'm about to trash in a minute. All right. Because I know one of them. But Dan Campbell did not win Coach of the Year last night. The AP's NFL Coach of the Year for 2024, all right, to no one's surprise, went to Kevin O'Connell of the Minnesota Vikings. And I say no one's surprised because the Vikings, and again, I want to give him his due. The Vikings were a team that were supposed to win 6.5 to 7 games this year. They won 14 games. A lot of people picked them to finish last. I was not one of them. I thought Minnesota was going to be better than people thought, but no one thought they would be 14-3. And the job that Kevin O'Connell did as head coach of the Vikings, he deserves the award. He does. All right. I'm not saying he doesn't. What I am saying is Dan Campbell got snubbed because Dan Campbell beat Kevin O'Connell twice. That's number one. Number two, Dan Campbell's team won 15. Oh my God. I'm getting 15 effing games this year with more players on injured reserve than anybody else. The argument that, Kevin O'Connell took a team that nobody expected. I get that. And this happens all of the time. Like Bill Belichick rarely won Coach of the Year because everybody knew the Patriots were going to be good. Coach of the Year usually goes to somebody that took a team that no one thought was going to do anything and rose them up. All right. The best coaching job, the best, you could argue this year, right, that the best coaching job in, let's say, the Big Ten was Dan Lanning because of what Oregon did, which was never lost until they got to the playoffs. But Kurt Signetti, the founder of the Sig 10 at Indiana, of course was going to win Coach of the Year and win National Coach of the Year because he took Indiana basketball school, I'm wearing the shirt today, for those of you watching on YouTube, a basketball school that's never been good in football. Never. Ever. Rarely. Curt Cignetti took Indiana to the college football playoffs. Does that mean Curt Cignetti is a better coach than Dan Lanning or did a better job? No, but that's how the votes go around sports. It does. People thought this year, let's talk about this for a second. People thought this year that going into baseball season, 2024 baseball season, most people had Detroit ahead of Cleveland in predicting the season. Some had Cleveland ahead of Detroit, whatever. Stephen Vogt took the Guardians, who no one expected to win the division. Well, me, I was the only one. I do a podcast called the Dairy Brothers Guardians Cast, and I said that I'm an Indian Guardians fan. I said they were going to win the division. I was the only one. But Vogt got manager of the year. But you could make an argument. A.J. Hinch took a Tigers team, especially June, July, that was just done, and got them into the playoffs. But at the start of the year, people predicted better things for Detroit over Cleveland. People predicted the Vikings to do absolutely nothing, and most people thought the Lions were going to be good. The reason why I'm passionate about this is because Dan Campbell took a Detroit Lions team to 15-2. 15-2. 15 wins and beat O'Connell's ass twice. Twice. So if you're a voter, and again, these votes are tabulated before the end of the regular season. I know week 18, Campbell and the Lions staff de-pantsed the Vikings staff. And to me, I said it. Campbell should have locked up coach of the year right there with O'Connell finishing second. The playoffs did not count. The votes were tabulated before the end of the regular season. I'm assuming some of these voters put their votes in before week 18. That has to change. Some of that has to change, because that week 18 game showed me Dan Campbell should have won coach of the year. Not taking anything away from Kevin O'Connell. And he's deserving too, but you only have one. And this guy beat the other guy twice, including in week 18. So that upsets me. What really ruffles my feathers or chaps my whatever is the voting that took place and how and some of the voters who did not even have Dan Campbell on their ballot. You vote first place, second place, third place, fourth, and fifth. And I'll give you an example of somebody that I'm not going to rip on. Let's find Tom Brady's ballot. Tom Brady. Okay. Fox announcer had Dan Campbell 1, Kevin O'Connell 2, Andy Reid 3, Sean McDermott 4, Sean Payton 5. Fine. All right. Mina Kimes, ESPN, Dan Campbell 1, Kevin O'Connell 2, Sean McDermott 3, Jim Harbaugh 4, Sean Payton 5. Diana Rossini, Kevin O'Connell, Sean Payton, Andy Reid, Sean McDermott, Dan Campbell. She had Dan Campbell 5th. There were 2 voters who did not even have Dan Campbell on their ballot. 2. One was Adam Shine of Shine on Sports and CBS. Adam Shine of Sirius XM. Fantastic phone call. Adam Shine. All right. And I know Adam, good guy, Syracuse guy, WAER guy, somebody I know. Shine had Kevin O'Connell, Andy Reid, Sean Payton, Jim Harbaugh, Sean McVay 5th. Come on. What, Adam? Did Sean come on your little radio show and go, hey, Adam? And so you lather him up? How do you have Sean McVay ahead of Dan Campbell? Sean McVay did a good job. He's a good coach. But putting Sean McVay ahead of Dan Campbell? Sean McVay was in that awful division. NFC West, awful. Come on. Again, Dan Campbell beat Sean McVay in week 1. The Detroit Lions won 15 games, 15-2. with all those injuries, 18 guys on the injured list, at least make them 5th on your ballot. That's brutal. And the other voter was Vic Carucci, longtime NFL writer, stationed in Buffalo, who voted Kevin O'Connell, Dan Quinn, Jim Harbaugh, Sean McDermott 4th, and also had Sean McVay 5th. I give up. So Vic Carucci had Sean McDermott and Sean McVay ahead of Dan Campbell. I come on. And people, I know what the argument would be if you talk to Adam or you talk to Vic. Hey, the Lions were supposed to be good. Yeah, but they lost their entire defense. They had 18 guys on injured list, 14 were on defense. They were down to practice squad guys and guys off the street. They had to play Quan Alexander, who was on a practice squad. They had to go get Jamal Adams, who nobody else wanted. And he had to play. They probably have no idea who Maurice Norris is. He was out there in the NFC playoffs playing for the Lions against the Commanders. McVay didn't even finish in the top 5. So Adam and Vic, come on, do better. Do better. Didn't even have Campbell on their ballot. So the voting, I'm going way over here. O'Connell had 25 first place votes, finished with 361 total points. Dan Campbell had 19 first place votes, finished with 283 total points. Andy Reid was 3rd, Sean Payton 4th, and Dan Quinn 5th. So, fine. All those guys did a good job. I'm not taking anything away from anybody, but I think this is ridiculous. I think it is. How about Josh Allen winning MVP, but he was second team AP All-Pro. Lamar Jackson was first team, yet Allen won the MVP. Some of this just doesn't compute. All right, let's get into some other the other awards. We will do that coming up next as well, right here on Locked On Lions, as I simmer down. The show is sponsored by Betterhelp. What are some of your relationship green flags? We often hear about the red flags we should avoid, but what if we're more focused on identifying the positive signs in our relationships, those green flags? If you're not sure what they look like, therapy can help you identify them. Actively practice them and even embody that green flag energy yourself. Whether you're dating, married, building a friendship, or just working on yourself, therapy can help you form relationships that love you back. Therapy helps you develop healthy boundaries and improves your communication skills. It also empowers you to set clear expectations and express your needs in relationships. Therapy provides tools for managing conflict in some ways and strengthen your connections rather than break them down. BetterHelp is there for you as well. They make it easy by offering online therapy with over 30,000 licensed therapists that you can choose from. And if you need to switch therapists, this is what's great about BetterHelp. You can do so at no extra cost. Discover your relationship green flags with BetterHelp. Visit BetterHelp.com/lockedon today to get 10% off your first month. That's BetterHelp, HELP.com/lockedon. Matt Derry back with you. What's happening, everybody, on a Friday edition of the podcast. Thanks for making us your first listen, checking us out wherever you get your podcast. Super Bowl Sunday coming up this weekend. Hey, what's your favorite dip? We could do that if you want or not. A lot to discuss. We'll get into the Super Bowl a little bit later on. Did see our friend Ross Tucker, who we love from CBS and the Ross Tucker podcast, football podcast, DraftKings and everything else. Ross, who covers the Eagles and does some social media stuff in pertaining to the Eagles because he lives out there, actually predicted the Chiefs to win, which I like to see. It's not like Ross saying, oh, I'm a Philly guy, so I'm just going to say Eagles. He actually predicted Kansas City to win. We'll get into that momentarily. All right, some other Lions that were up for awards last night. Congratulations to Ben Johnson. Yes, I'm well aware Ben Johnson is no longer a Lion. He's with the Bears now as their head coach. I know many of you despise Ben Johnson and think he's Benedict Johnson or Benedict Arnold or whatever. But Ben Johnson did win Assistant Coach of the Year, garnering 29 first place votes, 364 total points. Brian Flores of the Vikings, their defensive coordinator, finished second. Aaron Glenn got 6 first place votes, finished third with 110 total points. Eagles defensive coordinator Vic Fangio was fourth, and the Bills OC Joe Brady finished fifth. Johnson, according to the AP, Johnson is the 6th winner to become a head coach in the same off season. Last one to do that was D'Amico Ryans, who won Assistant Coach of the Year as the D coordinator, out in San Francisco, and then became the head coach of the Houston Texans. Ben Johnson is well deserving of this award. And I know how some Lion fans feel. And I know it's going to be a little bit awkward that he's in the division and with the Bears, touchdown Bears. But he deserves it. The Lions offense has been unbelievable the last couple of years. This season, no different. Tops in scoring. Ben Johnson shows off some games with some of the trick plays and just the formations. And the Lions had an unstoppable offense. So Ben Johnson, Assistant Coach of the Year. Aaron Glenn finishing third is awesome. How cool is that? Also now, of course, leaving for the Jets as their head coach, but he did a great job with this defense with all the attrition. Hutch out, McNeil out, Anzalone out, Carlton Davis out. The list went on and on. Davenport, all these guys that got hurt. Aaron Glenn did a fantastic job. So congratulations to those guys. Offensive Player of the Year went to Saquon Barkley. No surprise with Lamar Jackson second. Jamar Chase finishing third. In that, this is normally goes to the non-MVP. They have the awards, like they have the finalists and all that. Josh Allen wasn't in this one; he was in the MVP voting. But Jahmyr Gibbs finished 8th, Jared Goff 9th, Amon-Ra St. Brown 14th, and Penei Sewell got 2 votes and finished 15th. That's pretty cool. MVP, not a surprise. Josh Allen won it. I think he deserved it. I think he had that kind of year, and he was most valuable for his team. Lamar Jackson was second, Saquon Barkley third, Joe Burrow fourth. Jared Goff finished 5th with 47 points. Josh Allen had 383 points. But Jared Goff finishing top 5 in MVP, I think is awesome. And it's a testament to him and the kind of season that he had. Lions did have Kirby Joseph in the top 6 for Defensive Player of the Year. Now, we had argued throughout the season that Kirby Joseph, because he led the league in interceptions and was so valuable on the back end for the Lions on their defense, could win the Defensive Player of the Year. Instead, it went to Patrick Surtain, the fine cornerback from the Broncos. He finished with 330 total points. Trey Hendrickson of the Bengals was second. Myles Garrett of the Browns, at least for now, third. TJ Watt fourth. Zach Bond, their great linebacker, fifth. Kirby Joseph did get a first place vote and finished with 60 total points, as Kirby Joseph was at least in the top 6 and got some DAP. Terrion Arnold, Defensive Rookie of the Year, finished in 15th place, got one 5th place vote. Jared Verse of the Rams won that. Comeback Player of the Year, I thought this was cool. Joe Burrow won it. J.K. Dobbins was second and Sam Darnold third. But the Lions' Tim Patrick, coming back from multiple knee problems and torn ACLs the last 2 years, finished 6th. He got 3 first-place votes. Tim Patrick did, and finished with 67 points. And Jamison Williams had 2 total points and finished 21st in the Comeback Player of the Year voting. So I thought that was pretty cool. Now, what was interesting last night was Steve Weich from NFL Network took a picture of Myles Garrett, Aidan Hutchinson, and Jared Goff all talking like on the red carpet before the ceremony last night for the NFL awards, which was pretty intriguing to say the least. Wonder what the conversation was. Dave Burkett of the Free Press was at the awards and caught up with Hutchinson and asked him about bringing Myles Garrett to Detroit. And normally, guys won't say much about other players, or they won't say much about personnel decisions with their team because they just don't want to go there. Hutchinson said that's probably a long shot it's going to be very difficult, Hutchinson said, to have, very, very expensive defensive ends on the team. We know this. Aidan Hutchinson is going to get paid. He's going to be extended. If the Lions somehow let Aidan Hutchinson walk, that would be devastating. And there's no way that's happening. So Hutch is saying, can you really have two very highly expensive defensive ends on the same team? Is that even reasonable? Is that even realistic? So Hutch views this as a long shot and openly said that to Dave Burkett, which I found interesting. I loved seeing that picture. Loved it because it just gets your juices flowing about the Lions sitting there with Goff and Hutchinson telling Myles Garrett, hey, look, Myles, we would love to have you. And look, if someone said to Aidan Hutchinson, do you want Myles Garrett on your team? Of course he's going to say yes. But from a realism and realistic standpoint, I think Hutch was kind of saying, yeah, I highly doubt that something like that will happen. So take that for what it's worth. All right, coming up next, a little Super Bowl prediction. We will do that right here on a Friday edition of Locked On Lions. Matt Derry with you. All right, folks, we've told you about our friends at FanDuel. The Super Bowl is here. One game, two teams, Chiefs and Eagles, endless possibilities, and there's no better way to make every play more exciting than with our friends at FanDuel Sportsbook. Whether it's predicting the first touchdown, calling the MVP, or even betting on the coin toss, FanDuel makes it easy to get in on the action. With live betting all game long, you can adjust your bets as the game unfolds and feel the thrill from kickoff to the final whistle. The live betting feature lets you stay involved no matter what happens on the field, and the app is super easy to navigate. Right? Plus, knowing that you can place a $5 bet and potentially win $200 in bonus bets for the Super Bowl, well, that's icing on the cake, isn't it? Download the app to head to FanDuel.com to get started. Bet just $5, just $5. And if you win, you'll score $200 in bonus bets at FanDuel.com. FanDuel.com, bet with FanDuel. They are the official sportsbook partner of Super Bowl 59. And what about our friends at PrizePicks? Want to do FanDuel? What about PrizePicks for individual player wagering? It is so much fun. The big game is almost here. No better way to make it even more exciting this Sunday than with PrizePicks, the best place for daily fantasy sports. With over 10 million members and billions in winnings awarded, PrizePicks makes it fun and simple to get in on the action. Here's how it works. You pick more than or less than on at least two player stat projections. And if you're right, you can win up to 1,000 times your cash. PrizePicks even has a free pick for this weekend. Patrick Mahomes only needs to throw 1 yard to win. 1 yard, that's it. So you pair that with one more correct pick, and you're going to cash out. How awesome is that? Travis Kelce, receiving yards, more than or less than. You can wager on that at PrizePicks. Saquon Barkley, rushing yards. Sacks for Chris Jones. All of that at PrizePicks. Check out the promos tab to tail any of the super sweet Millie Winners big game lineups. If you tail a lineup that goes 3 for 3, you can win a split of $1 million in promo funds. Download the app today. Use the code LOCKEDONNFL to get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. That's code LOCKEDONNFL for $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. PrizePicks, run your game. All right, so I've been doing a lot of thinking about the Super Bowl and want to talk about it just here for the last couple of minutes in terms of predictions and everything else that's going to go on in this game Sunday night at 6:30. First and foremost, have fun with it. I know not. I looked at my YouTube comments from last night's show or yesterday's show, and a lot of you are not going to watch the game. A lot of you are still sick to your stomach over the Lions not being in the Super Bowl. All right. Like Lions super fan Megan Stefanski, she just won the Fan of the Year award last night at the NFL Awards. How cool is that for Megan, who is an awesome Lions fan? You've heard her story. I think she lives up north. Awesome. Very, very cool. But Lion fans like Megan and others, I get it. I get it. You're sick over the Lions not being in this game. Everybody had their sights set on it. You go 15-2, you get the 1 seed, you get 2 home games to get to the Super Bowl. This was a great shot. I don't think it's the only shot, but this was a great shot. I think the Lions will be back and winning for a long time. So I'm not going to tell you not to watch it or to watch it at all. My buddy, I've mentioned this guy, Chavez Vincent, who I work with at Financial Architects. Shout out to Chavez. He has not watched any football since the Lions lost. He is that devastated and can't stomach it. So I don't blame you. But if you're going to watch Sunday like I am, have fun. Enjoy your friends, enjoy your family, enjoy the people that are around you, because it is kind of a holiday around here. That's pretty awesome. But as far as the game goes, you know, you break things down, you look at it, you say, what are the strengths and weaknesses? Obviously, Kansas City wins up front on both sides of the ball. Philadelphia's defensive line is devastating. They're so good. And if they're healthy, and I know some guys have been sick this week, but you got a guy like Jalen Carter, if he can stop the Chiefs' rushing attack, which has never been, you know, that dominant, and force Mahomes into some third and longs, Philadelphia's got a really good defense. All of these things play a factor. Jalen Hurts with his legs, can he make some plays? You know, the Chiefs might be picking a little bit on a guy like Darius Slay, who might be playing his last game in Philadelphia. There's a lot of things that go into this. But here's the bottom line for me and why I'm going to pick Kansas City to three-peat. There's just something about this team, and it's not the officials. It's not Taylor Swift. It's not conspiracies with Roger Goodell. Mahomes is just the ultimate winner. He just does not lose. And I think if it's a close game, and I agree with what Ross Tucker said on social media, if it's a close game, you just have to believe Mahomes, Kelsey, these guys are going to find a way. They're going to find a way. And I think Xavier Worthy is going to be an X factor in this game. And I think the Chiefs are going to win. I think it's going to be close because when Kansas City plays, they play close games. We know that. But I think like a 31-30 Chiefs win to win their third straight and three-peat is kind of in the cards. There's something about this team. Butker is usually money kicking field goals in this game. And Andy Reid just pushes the right buttons. So I'm going to take the Chiefs by 31-30. That'll do it for Locked On Lions for this week. We'll talk about the Super Bowl and much, much more next week right here on Locked On Lions. Thanks for making us your first listen, everybody, and checking us out wherever you get your podcasts.